out at the Rose Mine near Big Bear Lake, finishing up our Nexen Roadian MTX tire tests. This is actually a spot we used when we did the initial comparison testing for Nexen, actually a couple of years ago in the spring of 2017. We were able to test 5 different tires, 2 versions of the MTX and 3 of the competitive brands. We learned a lot about the tires doing that. We did 21 tests in 5 days using 1 vehicle, so we did a lot of tire changes. And that was a challenge, and we were on 33-inch tires, so some of the tests we did were even more of a challenge because we didn't have a lot of ground clearance, and certainly wasn't what I was used to as a driver. The other driver in that was Quinn Thomas, who is helping us with the Jeep 411 video series. We learned a lot of interesting things from the testing. We did hill climbs, hill descents on different slopes, different types of hills, loose rock, loose dirt. We also did different types of rock crawling, mud. The only thing we didn't test in was snow. We even did a side slope, which gets your attention because we could get up to about 40 degrees at least with a couple of the tires, so that made it a challenge. But we had a great time, and it's an excellent tire. It actually, with 2 different drivers and a 3rd driver doing some of the tests, we all agreed that one version of the Nexen MTX was the best tire of the bunch, not by a lot. And given the fact that it's on a 37-inch by 17 tire size, the Nexen is about $100 a tire less than the other tires. who have been running on the Nexen tires for how long now, guys?
Oh, I'd say about a year. Yeah.
And Bill and Wendy have been extremely helpful when we do Nexen events, but I think they've got some interesting input on how all these tires work in different conditions. So guys, go for it.
Well, I'd say it's a big difference from the tires brand X I had before. One thing I noticed is the sidewall flex is fantastic. I don't have to air down as much as I did before by about 2 PSI. I'm down at 14, and I've got a great contact patch. And they just crawl over just about anything. So if you have the throttle control, if you've got a good right foot, you can get up and over just about anything. You see it when you're spotting.
Yeah, in fact, I was just going to say, it's interesting to spot different types of vehicles that have different kinds of tires, different brands. And what I noticed the most was that Nexen was one of the easiest to get up and over some of our big climbs that we have. And it was amazing how it flexed, and it's amazing how it grips. And again, with that throttle control, you pretty much can get over anything. It just doesn't matter. And it's really amazing, the difference, especially even with us having changed the tires. It's so much easier to get up and over things.
Sure. About the only time I had any tire spin was going up Chicken Rock down in Cougar Buttes, but it's a necessity. But again, it's just throttle control. You're just barely spinning the tires, and it's still moving. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of this, and the tires have made a huge difference. Huge difference. A lot easier on the vehicle that way. You're not destroying equipment. You're not in the shop as much.
Well, it's nice having the confidence when you're driving with these tires, because you know that you can take any kind of an obstacle and you don't have to worry about, is this going to slip off? Am I not going to make it? Do I have to use something different? Do I need to get winched out? No, you actually can get through just about anything. So for me as a driver too, it makes it nice to have that confidence with these tires.
So one of the things that's really important from a mud terrain tire, especially when you're rock crawling, especially when you're going up a steep ledge, is the ability of that tire to wrap around the rocks. If it doesn't do that, in fact, if you're not aired down, it won't do that. It makes it 10 times more difficult.
Yeah.
What's your perspective of both of you on how those tires work over the rocks like that?
Well, I've watched you crawl over some stuff, and the sidewall went down to, an inch and a half when you were over a nice little peak on a ridge, and the tire just wrapped right over the rock, and there was no spin. And I know it's doing it for me. I don't get the opportunity to see it because I'm in, but I can feel it, and I've watched yours. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's nice when I'm spotting Jeeps that have these tires and to be able to see them actually wrap and grab and just creep slowly up and over those rocks. I mean, it's almost effortless, really. It really is effortless when they do it.
Yeah, obviously it's not just the sidewall, but it's the compound as well.
Yeah.
It just grips.
Another thing that some of the tires, when we were doing our initial testing, it's fun to do a comparison because it gives you an idea of how different tires work in different circumstances. One of the places we tested was on the John Bull, and some of the tires would grip really well on those really sandy rocks.
Yeah.
Some of the tires would slip off. In fact, one of the more famous brands of tire, it took 5 or 6 times just to get over one rock because it kept slipping off. It changes your line. It makes it much more difficult. What's your experience with that with these tires?
Well, I'll say from the spotting standpoint is that watching people that don't have this tire and what you just talked about with the slipping, and then they get themselves off a different line, and then it's almost impossible to get them back up and over. You got to back them up, get them restarted with a new line. So much easier with these tires to be able to get into that line, grab it, that you don't have that slippage as much, hardly at all, I don't think. Last time I was on, I don't see any of that. And the fact that they can just get on over those tires. So it does make it nice. You pick the right line to start with. You're going to use these tires, you're going to go right on over. Otherwise, you're slipping. That sand, that John Bull, that sand is definitely slippery.
Well, the one that comes to mind for me was the one when we were down in Cougar Buttes and we hit the notch. And that wall was probably about like this. And it was nothing but sidewall.
Yeah.
On the edge of the tire.
Yeah.
Or on the, yeah. and the tire was wrapped in, no road, and it walked right down that hole.
So,
Obviously, that was spotting,
Yeah.
and we were telling the driver where to go and what to do,
Yeah,
but it just didn't slip.
yeah, there's no slipping.
Yeah.
No, that was a great day actually to watch the Jeeps with these tires and to be able to go through that complete wedge. You're literally, balancing on this side, and then that tire is just following that line and getting it just lined up right, and drivers paying attention and everybody doing what they did do, but the tires just performed amazing. It was just, I didn't have to worry about them slipping off at all.
No, and you picked some good lines for us, but inside it was like nothing was, you had no idea that you could stand up underneath the Jeep.
Yeah.
Good place to change the oil.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's really important about that sidewall traction, and especially in that circumstance, if you slip off, you can do a lot of damage to your vehicle because it's likely to tilt. You could break out a window, damage a door, all kinds of things can go wrong.
Panic sets in and you're done. So
yeah,
it's nice to have the confidence with these tires.
Well, fortunately, because there was one where I could stick my fingers out the window and touch the rock.
Yeah.
Mirrors folded in.
Nexen Roadian MTX features several unique design features, including a dual sidewall design with the machine side on one sidewall and the beast sidewall on the other sidewall. The unique features on the Roadian MTX have allowed Nexen to patent some of the features of the tread. The tread voids on the MTX are relatively small, meaning there's a small void ratio. With larger tread blocks, this improves both traction and reduces noise on the highway. The MTX features horizontal stipes, which improve acceleration and braking traction, especially when rock crawling, and vertical stipes, which improve traction laterally on rocks and side slopes. The debris ejectors help get rid of snow, stones, and mud when you're wheeling. Paulo Joe from Nexen Tire explains some of the design features and testing that went into the Nexen Roadian MTX tire.
The trick was trying to have that tire stiff enough so that we could actually put the F load, so that a lot of the new vehicles with TPMS, they require that high tire pressure. But we made it strong enough for that, but also when you deflate the tire, we want to make sure that the sidewall is able to be soft enough that you don't technically require a beadlock, because
Right.
I think depending on other brands, but couple of the brands that we tested against, they're at 9 psi to get same footprint as us being on like 14 psi.
Wow.
So, I think that's a big difference. So, the trick was not only on the compound and structure, but even the compound on the tread, but also compound on the sidewall. It just has to have a right combination. So that was one of our main concern and tests. So, I guess we pick out the right one.
So
And obviously, Don Alexander is one of those person that could give you such a detailed feedback. And when we're testing, if we're like half an inch apart from the test, we go back and do it again. We want every single tire exactly the same. We test it over and over, and that's how we got all those data and saying this is the one that we need to go with. So we had a lot of criteria, and obviously before even doing an on-road test, the engineers using a computer simulation to go through many different things to develop. So we went through a lot to make this tire.
My name is Desi Hauer. I'm the owner of Big Bear Jeep Experience. We're a Jeep tour company located up here in Big Bear, California. What we do is we allow our guests to come up here and drive our vehicles, and we teach them all about rock crawling, off-roading, and basically about off-roading and the off-road lifestyle. We own a fleet of 5 vehicles up here. One is a guide vehicle and the other 4 follow behind us. And we're on the trail every day. We do 3 departures a day. And I believe our vehicles probably get more trail time than any other Jeep out there. We've been using the Nexen for about just over a year now, and we have yet to have a single failure on these tires. We use these trail tires with confidence out here. We have no issues at all with these tires. I've seen these tires pinched between rocks. I've seen these tires with rocks on one side, rim on the other side pinched. I've seen them taking extremely heavy loads, and I've seen big sticks trying to penetrate the sidewall, and I've seen them handle some pretty amazing stuff. And there's other tires that are tough, but not only are these tires tough, but they have some great traction. A lot of times once you get your durability out of a tire, you kind of sacrifice the traction. You start getting into a real soft tire that, or when you want to get traction, you start getting into a soft tire that you start losing a lot of that durability, where this Nexen has really found the happy medium. We've never had a problem or an issue with traction. We go out there on rain days, snow days, every type of terrain you can imagine, every type of conditions you can imagine, and these Nexens have been doing great. And there's been times when I've seen the bigger name companies out there thinking that, oh, these tires are better, or not necessarily companies, but people with the bigger name tires out there, and our tires are holding up with them or excelling past them. So these tires have been amazing. This set on this Jeep right here have been on here for over a year, and this is our guide vehicle. So this vehicle goes out every trip. You can see with a year's use on here, we still have plenty of life on our tire. Our guests out on the trails all day, every day, 3 times a day. We do everything from beginner-friendly trails to advanced rock crawling trails. Most people complete Gold Mountain first. Gold Mountain consists primarily of jagged rose quartz. So we would bring our guests out to Gold Mountain, we complete that trail. Once again, have yet to have a single failure with these tires on Gold Mountain and novice drivers on Gold Mountain. The next trail we normally do is Holcomb Creek. Now, one of the cool things about Big Bear is we're a little bit more unique out here. Holcomb Creek has a total different type of terrain on it versus Gold Mountain. Holcomb Creek is all like river rock, smooth river stone, a lot of stuff that's been worn down over the centuries and over time. All these rocks are slick, and if anybody's familiar with off-roading and familiar with the types of conditions you get when you get slick river rock, it can be an extra challenge. So these tires do great on that slick river rock. You've yet to have an issue with them over there. And then our most challenging trail that we have up here, probably the one that we're most known for, is John Bull Trail. Now John Bull Trail, it's the cream of the crop as far as the trails up here. Giant granite boulders, and there's a lot of steep angles where it forces the weight of your Jeep on one specific tire. And I've seen these Nexens folding in between rocks with all the weight of the entire vehicle on one tire, and then once again have yet to blow out, yet to have an issue at all. So as far as the quality of this tire, there really isn't much better out there, and I'm definitely a supporter in it.
Sure. And the other thing too is when we're all finished, we air up, we're on the highway, they feel stable.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, this is our daily driver with these tires, so it's been nice. You don't have a lot of road noise.
The Nexen Roadian MTX tires have proven to be extremely capable tires. We've tested them on at least 10 different vehicles in all kinds of different conditions, and everybody is really surprised that at the price point that the Nexen Roadian tire comes in at, it performs extremely well, and so far they've been very durable. And we're a year and a half in, and we're experiencing what I would consider to be pretty decent tire wear. One of the most important things about these tires is they instill confidence, and that makes a big difference in how you go wheeling. Confidence in your equipment is really important when you're tackling the most difficult trails, especially rock crawling and steep hill climbs and descents. If you don't have confidence in your vehicle and especially in your tires, that just makes the job a little bit more difficult and not as pleasant. It also makes the challenge a little bit greater. So all of those things are really, really important. We found at the Jeep 4x4 school that our job really is to give people confidence in their own driving ability and in their vehicle. They need to know what the limitations are and be able to know what their vehicle is capable of. And that's a game changer for most people. One of the important things when you're rock crawling is the ability of the tire to wrap around the rocks and really grip those rocks. And having a good side traction keeps you from sliding off of those rocks when you're trying to climb over them or down them. And that makes a big difference. When you slide off a rock, it's going to force you to change line and possibly have to back up and do all kinds of maneuvering to get back on the line you intended, and that isn't always easy to do. So again, we're very pleased with the Roadian MTX tires and the fact that they do provide excellent traction both back and forth under braking and moving forward, but also sideways when you're on a side slope, or especially when you're on rocks. And we've also found that they work very well on the sand when they're aired down, and they're great tires across the board. They handle well on the highway, and for a mud terrain tire, they're reasonably quiet. So overall, we're very happy with them, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, the initial testing we did has been backed up by driving on these tires for a year and a half on several different vehicles with several different testers. So overall, very pleased.